Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce.
The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Internet services provided by Cape.com Incorporated. Established in 1994, Cape.com is the only locally owned and operated internet service provider on Cape Cod. Our specialties include e-commerce applications and design, wide area networking services, and high-speed DSL internet access throughout eastern Massachusetts. Cape.com continues to lead the way with cutting-edge applications, superior networking services, and quality customer support. For more information, visit us at www.cape.com or call us at 539-9500.
Meeting to order. The board has just returned from an executive session. We're now in open session. I invite you to join the board as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do want to let the town know that our chairman of the board, Mary Pat Flynn, had a bad accident about a week and a half ago, and she has been in the hospital. She's now in JML recovering. We do hope that we'll be seeing her back in the meetings in the next few weeks, but I know she's at home watching our meeting tonight, and she's had some good visitors and is in great spirits, but is finding it very difficult to walk, so we hope to see her again soon, and we wish her our best. First item on our agenda is a proclamation for the Falmouth girls hockey team. And I just want to tell the team, when I was in Falmouth High School in 1979, the boys won the state championship, and the feeling it had within the town and in the school at the time was absolutely amazing. So I can just completely understand what it must be like to have the girls walking through the halls, representing the town so well. And I'd like to read a proclamation from the Board of Selectmen. Whereas on March 15th, 2015, the Falmouth High School girls ice hockey team played Wellesley High School at the TD Garden in the Division II state championship game. And whereas the Falmouth Clippers came back to score the tying goal midway through the second period and in overtime, freshman Mackenzie Haberl broke into the Wellesley zone and scored with 6:03 remaining in the period. And whereas the Falmouth High School girls ice hockey team earned the title of Division II state champions. And whereas this achievement has brought great pride and acclaim to the town of Falmouth, to Falmouth High School, and to our community, in its continued commitment to promote and recognize excellence by our student athletes, now therefore we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Falmouth, by authority vested in us, declare that March 30th, 2015 be set aside as Falmouth High School Girls Ice Hockey Day in the town of Falmouth, and call upon the citizens of Falmouth to join with us in expressing appreciation to the members of the team, to their coaches and families for their years of loyal and dedicated service to our students and programs, and for their outstanding example to the youth of Falmouth, and wish them the very best in their future endeavors. Congratulations. Of business, I'm going to ask the board to make a motion, which we'll then vote. And as we're signing it, I'd love to have the girls and the coach just quickly introduce themselves at the microphone so we can hear your name and everybody at home can also hear your name. So, do I have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So please go ahead. And
Hi,
after you're done, if you just keep moving right along here and line up here so we can see the entire team standing.
My name is Erin Hunt. I'm the head coach of the girls' ice hockey team.
I'm Maddie Haberl, and I'm a senior.
I'm Mackenzie Haberl, and I'm a freshman. I'm Emma Callahan, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Sophie Schlesinger, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Abby Peterson, and I'm a junior.
I'm Elizabeth Palmer, and I'm a senior.
I'm Callan Small, and I'm a senior.
I'm Kelly Ferreira, and I'm a senior.
I'm Hannah Callahan, and I'm a junior.
Margaret Palmer, I'm a senior.
I'm Olivia Howe, and I'm a senior. Maddie Scavato, and I'm a senior as well.
Congratulations, Ken. I do understand we have 10 seniors on the team, but it sounds like we also have some youth, so we'll do it again next year, right?
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we all give? If you want to give that to Kim.
We'll let you take this on your break. That's fine.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank
you.
Our next item of business is an announcement about the Lighted Up Blue Autism Awareness Month on Cape Cod. Mr. Suso, can you
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
this?
Certainly. We were contacted recently by the Lighted Up Blue organization that's involved in and affiliated with Capabilities. They sent the following note: Capabilities, in association with Autism Speaks and Lighted Up Blue, will celebrate Autism Awareness Month throughout April on Cape Cod. Lighted Up Blue is a unique global initiative that kicks off World Autism Awareness Month on April 2nd. In honor of this historic day, Capabilities and many Cape Cod businesses, chambers, town halls, and schools will display blue lights to show their support for and help bring awareness to the growing numbers of individuals diagnosed with autism each year. The latest numbers from Autism Speaks states that 1 out of 54 boys and 1 out of 252 girls are diagnosed with autism in the United States, which is a staggering percentage. Last year, the towns of Barnstable, Yarmouth, Sandwich, and some others on the Cape displayed blue lighting at their municipal locations. This year, the town of Falmouth has been sought out, among others, asking if we would also display a blue light at Town Hall or a nearby location in recognition of Autism Awareness Month. And here is the blue light which we have been given, subject to confirming this evening with the Board of Selectmen. And Capabilities, as I noted, is heavily involved in this endeavor, an excellent group within which we work in various capacities. So we appreciate receiving the bulb and making this announcement, and with the board's concurrence, we will proceed to participate in this with vigor and enthusiasm.
I'd entertain a motion that we vote of support of this.
Yeah, I move that we place this blue light in front of one of our buildings in celebration of Autism Awareness Month. I guess that's good enough.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None unanimous.
Can I make a comment?
Yep.
I've driven participants in the Capabilities Program for over 3 years and got to know a number of the people. They don't all have autism, but my daughter has worked in preschool and elementary programs specifically for autistic children. And I have to say there's great strides in understanding the nature of this this characteristic, if you will, and helping those people be more productive as members of our society. So there's progress that's being made by these kinds of initiatives and the support that people are giving to that effort. Thank you.
Any other announcements, other members of the board? I do want to acknowledge the passing of a very loyal town servant, but certainly someone who gave a lot of hours to the town for no pay. John Elliott passed away last week, who had been on the Board of Selectmen. I think he was on the first board of 5 selectmen when it became a volunteer position as opposed to a full-time paid position. He was involved in the Upper Cape Transfer Station for many, many years. Was a very, very interested person in dealing with all of our waste management practices. And if we could just take a moment to appreciate and think about his passing. Thank you very much. I did notice on with the Falmouth Police Facebook page a warning to everyone that on April 7th, a new law in Massachusetts has been passed that if you have your windshield wipers on, you must also have your headlights on. And so starting next week, be aware that if your windshield wipers are on for rain, I think if you're just washing them for one time because of a bird going by, it doesn't apply. But if they're on for rain, you're also supposed to have your headlights on. Okay, next item of business is dealing with the minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. Do we have anyone who'd like to make a 2-minute comment on some item that is not on our agenda? Mr. Putnam?
Oh.
It must be about ham radio time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, Town Manager Suso, Assistant Manager Harper. My name is Brent Putnam. I am a former selectman and chairman of the board, but I do not come this evening to speak about politics. As some of you know, I am a licensed amateur radio operator, a ham, and a member of the Falmouth Amateur Radio Association. So I'm here to announce that the Falmouth Amateur Radio Association is holding a license in a weekend class on the weekend of May 15th, 16th, and 17th at the Barnstable Fairgrounds on Route 151. If you have an interest in communications, technology, or public service, this is for you. There are flyers here. I have some more for the general public with all the necessary contact information. There is a $50 fee for the class, but that includes everything. The textbook, coffee and donuts to get you started, lunch, Saturday and Sunday, exam fees, and a one-year membership with the Falmouth Amateur Radio Association. There's a limit of 25 students for the class, so please sign up early if you're interested, and if you have any questions, like I say, we have flyers. I'll leave a few here for the general public. You can also reach or contact the association via our website, which is FALARA.org, FALARA.org. And thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Yep.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Rebecca Putnam. I am not a ham. And I'm actually here on behalf of Kiwanis. Kiwanis is an international group. We are restarting the Falmouth Kiwanis, which used to be the largest Kiwanis here on the Cape. It disbanded many years ago, and we are in the process of rechartering. It is a great community service. We do everything for children. So we raise funds on our own. We vote where our funds go. It does not go to an international group. It is not anything that we raise does not go towards admin fees. We will be meeting Tuesdays, and tomorrow is our third meeting at Peking Palace. You can come order dinner at 6, and the meeting starts at 6:30, goes from 6:30 to 7:30. And tomorrow, we would love to have folks come, find out what we're about. There's no obligation to join. It's not a type of meeting where if you do join, you have to show up weekly. You can show up as you want, once a year, twice a year, every week. But we would love to see some folks in the community come back and see what we're about and maybe join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, some handouts for the board.
Mr. Chairman, in a review of Title IV of the federal law and Chapter 2 of Massachusetts law, what I have found is that the flag code is advisory in nature. The only punishment is on the desecration of the flag. If the flag could talk, what would she say? Do we need the wisdom of Solomon to make a determination of something that there is no answer for? As I mentioned in my last email that went to all of you, and I have submitted that chain of emails for your own record just prior to this statement. As a past precedence, we have lowered the flag at the town hall and other town offices for former members and employees of the town or of the fire, police, or DPW. None of these actions were in violation of the laws because it was always a matter of respect for that person. In my short time of 56 years as a taxpayer and voting citizen of this town, I can point to the lowering of the flag for Chief Peck when he passed, for Kenny Marshall when he passed, also for Roy Berg, who was a veterans officer and died in an accident on Woods Hole Road, as just some that we've lowered the flag for. We lowered the flag for Bill Owens, the past director of the DPW, on his passing. So to say that within the last 5 to 10 years we have never done it is wrong. In the emails, you will see that a statement seeking an answer from town council. In all due respect, he would not have the answers because the lowering of the flag has always been done by the Parks Department and/or the Director of Veteran Services. The flagpole was worked over to allow a lanyard to be secured in a locked compartment that the Director of Veteran Services has a key and performs that function. Make sure you read Jay Hill's email well, for he was the former Director of Veteran Services in Falmouth. I would submit that the Town Council made a valid point in saying that the policy and procedure should be set once and for all by the Board of Selectmen. We as a town need to come back together and consider our citizens first above all. In this case, John Elliott was a former selectman and an elected official and chair for the 4-town transfer station. This is our town, our citizens. They deserve our respect. Thank you.
I will assure you that it will be on our agenda to add that policy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is John Elliott, Precinct 5, and I'm speaking here tonight to hopefully institute a policy change with this board. That policy would show a sign of respect for citizens who have served this town. It's too late for my father, but it's never too late for a change. The lack of respect and courtesy shown by town hall leadership was evident this past week. We rely on citizens to serve this town, so we should also honor their service. Thank you.
Anybody else like to make a statement? Minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of March 16, 2015.
Okay. Second, Mr. Patterson?
I'll second, but I think there are some corrections that should be made.
Okay.
And I've just passed to Denise. I think she spelled Mr. Von Curren's name phonetically, and we have his application so that that can be corrected, because we certainly ought to get that straight, since it was an appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Let's see. A couple of others.
That's on page 5.
That was on page 5, excuse me. Well, I think the rest of it are pretty much just minor editorial. Oh, no, I'm sorry, there is one more. On the page 9 on our reports, we mentioned that there was a meeting of the Cape Cod Selectmen's Association, and we had several representatives that participated in that, and I just wanted to make sure that we included David Vieira's name in that, because he was there and participated and should get credit.
So on page 9, the top paragraph, the representatives included Mr. Vieira, Mr.
Yes, it
Whelan,
could,
and Mr. Mantle.
could be just simply be Mr. Whalen, Mr. Mantle, and Mr. Vieira were present and made presentations to that group.
Were present and made presentations to that group.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, the minutes already include Mr. Whalen and Mr. Mantle, so this is adding Mr. Vieira, and they all made presentations to the group. Okay.
Otherwise, if you would mind making that small.
Sure.
Change.
So the motion will be amended to reflect the changes suggested by Mr. Patterson.
I'll second again.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And one abstention, Mrs. Moffett. And at this point, I do want to recognize that our recording secretary, Denise Bradford, I think has some other obligations that she'll be taking up, and if you could, Jennifer Chavez will be joining us as our new recording secretary. And thank you very much, Denise, for your time, and
Indeed,
Jennifer, we
Denise.
look forward to working with you.
Welcome.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you, Jennifer.
Again, at this point, it does remind me, anytime a public is going to make any presentations, it is very useful to come to the mic, say your name, say it very clearly and carefully. If it is an odd spelling and you want your name spelled correctly in the minutes, it will be useful also to add that, not only for our benefit, but for the recording secretary to make sure it's accurate. Okay. Executive session?
The next motion would be to approve the minutes for executive session of March 2nd, 2015, and not to release because to release may prejudice the town's position in the matter discussed.
And this is on the wind turbine issue?
Correct.
And I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then lastly, to move to approve the minutes of March 16 of executive session, but not to release because the subject discussed may prejudice the town's position in the matter.
Okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, and then I guess I did mess up because on March 2nd, we also had the second set of minutes dealing with the personal injury claim, so we need to do that as a
We can
separate.
reflect that.
Okay.
We did them separate.
Okay.
Yep.
So be on both issues, 1 and 2 were approved. Yep. Okay. Moving on to summary of actions. We have a license, an application for a new inn holder license for the Captain Tom Lawrence House Inn Do we have anyone from the applicant's office here? Okay, if you could please come to the microphone.
My name is Ramhi Biaka, and I represent Eben.
All right, if you would just say your name once again.
Ramhi Biaka.
Okay. And you're representing the applicants?
Eben Monk.
Eben Monk, okay.
In what capacity?
She is still in Washington, D.C. She won't be here till Friday. I'm her mother.
Okay, thank you. That's good enough for me.
I believe we do have a few things that are still outstanding on this application that I'm not sure whether you're going to have the answers as to whether they have been satisfied. I think one of them had to do with whether we had actually heard or whether they had met with the food services dealing with the...
Yes. She joined that in Hyannis.
Did you get an inspection from food service from the town?
From the Board of Health?
She has it, but I didn't know that you would need it. So I don't have it.
But can we not approve this contingent on successful passage of that? I think that's the way we can handle it.
Okay.
You'll have to bring it to the town secretary in the Board of Selectmen's office.
Okay.
And that we also need a date of birth for the other, for Joth Singh, for the police department to make sure that they can do their check on him.
Okay.
I'd move approval of the application for lodging house license or innkeeper's license for the Captain Tom Lawrence House Inn, contingent on compliance with the ZBA Appeal 146-93 dated September 23rd, 1993, and compliance with Falmouth Board of Health requirements. And I guess the further piece of information, and that's the social security number?
Birthday.
Birthday, I'm sorry, for the co-owner.
Joth Singh.
Yeah.
Rebecca?
Do you think it's a better situation to wait until we have all of that instead of saying, we'll vote for it, but then bring this in later? I think there's a few things that are missing here.
I guess I do have concern about the birth date, because the birth date only gives the police a chance to tell us what they find out.
Yeah.
And then depending on what they find out, we may say yay or nay, depending on that. It may be something that is not a real issue, but they do have something to tell us. But without that information, I guess I would agree that it would make more sense to continue this until we get that information.
So I'll make a motion to continue.
Okay. And we are meeting on April 6th, so there's a good chance that we could put that on the agenda if we continue to the time definite of April 6th.
Okay.
I'll second continue. So it's a short time, though, so they should get that information in by Wednesday.
Okay. So we need to vote.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Unanimous. We will continue that until Monday. Next item, under administrative orders, is to authorize the town manager to execute agreements with the Mass Clean Energy Center. Is this, Heather, are you taking this one up?
Sure.
Yes. Great.
There are two discrete agreements before the board to consider, and they are to authorize the town manager the capacity to execute those contracts consistent with the board's vote.
I think we should probably do each as a separate vote, so could we talk about one at a time?
Absolutely. They're very discrete and separate from each other. The first is an unplanned maintenance grant. If you recall, the town had a $1 million reserve available for unanticipated expenses due to the operation of the turbines, and there is a goal to restore that fund back to $1 million. The town initiated that at the November town meeting and appropriated $300,000 to that fund, and the board gave us the direction to seek additional funds from the Mass Clean Energy Center to help fortify the fund to its full $1 million. The Massachusetts Clean Energy Center has awarded the town $500,000 for unplanned maintenance. It was subject to the initial $300,000 contribution, and the town's obviously met that requirement. The agreement may be terminated in the event that both turbines are decommissioned and removed for any reason, because the purpose of the grant is solely for unplanned maintenance. And that really is the outline of that contract. Are there any questions on that?
Any questions from the board on this? Okay.
Well, The only question is, what action does this board need to take at this point, given the fact that it'll be coming up at the April town meeting?
No, we
It's not
funded
coming.
it at the last town meeting, we funded $300,000.
Yes.
With the $500,000 in place, you then have $800,000 available. The town's proposing an additional $100,000 to help get closer to that $1 million goal. So this town meeting has no relativity other than to commit that we did earn the Mass Clean Energy Center grant that we committed to back in November.
So the vote of $100,000 in May will not affect this grant either. Tonight's vote is just to accept this grant as provided by the Mass CEC.
Thank you.
Well, was Frank going to speak to
I think that's on, really on
the
the
second one?
second.
Okay.
Any other questions on the grant agreement? I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll try. I move that we accept the $100,000 grant for extraordinary repairs on the wind turbines. I guess that's sufficient.
It's authorizing the town manager to execute agreement for a $500,000 grant.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. All right, now we'll move on to the other piece.
The other piece is related to a contract that is currently in place for the Mass Clean Energy Center for renewable energy certificates. Every hour that the wind turbine is operating, it creates an attribute called a renewable energy certificate, and those are worth, have a value in the marketplace. The town entered into an agreement on July 29th, 2009, whereby the Mass Clean Energy Center gave the town a little over $1 million in exchange for our delivery of the renewable energy certificates generated beginning April 1 of 2015. That contract required the town to operate 24 hours a day and to generate over 3,000 RECs per year. The town is currently not operating in that capacity. We have a court order. We're operating half-time, 6 days a week. The Board of Selectmen directed the town manager to negotiate some relief from that obligation. This contract provides relief from the full operation of wind turbines, and that relief is necessary effective April 1st. In addition to relief from full delivery of the renewable energy certificates, we're also able to negotiate additional payment for those certificates that we do deliver. Well, there's no minimum threshold that we have to contribute. If we contribute a certain amount of RECs, we'll be paid additional revenue. Based on the contract that's proposed, the current operations resulting from the court-ordered 12-hour-a-day injunction would project an additional $73,000 a year to the town for a total estimated contract value of $1 million. And I might just add that town council will affirm in the final contracts that the authorization of either of these agreements don't limit the town in seeking additional funding from the Mass Clean Energy Center. The town may approach the Mass Clean Energy Center at any future date for future assistance as the town may determine.
So this is assistance from Mass Clean Energy to the town of Falmouth to accommodate the fact that the court has required that the turbines be operated on a limited basis. Is that a good synopsis?
Yes, but it also provides for the town, the Board of Selectmen also adopted during this process a 16-hour-a-day operation, and it accommodates that as well. So it reduces the number of annual RECs from the full operation to the town's preferred operational mode, and also accommodates any court-ordered reduction below either of those amounts.
And so it helps the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
For it balances what we're losing from lowering from full-time use.
It helps to balance.
It helps.
Doesn't, there's still.
It helps it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, if I could just interject. Prior to this agreement that we're considering now, the present existing agreement works to the disadvantage of the town, given the reality of the circumstance we've just described, which is that the town, by court order, is operating at considerably less than half capacity. So our commitments at the time the town
began to embark on the wind turbine business required a higher standard. So this will be accommodating for our present circumstance and as a result of the negotiation which we pursued.
Any other questions? My question, I think, has been answered about the obligation, what it obligates the town to do. And my understanding is it obligates the town to run the turbines at the rate that we are currently running them at, or very close to it, unless the court orders us to do something else.
Correct.
And we were going to hear from Frank.
And I just want to amplify that if the court orders us to do something less, then we have relief from the obligation to deliver those credits.
Mr. Duffy, did you want to add any comments on this?
Good evening, Frank Duffy, Town Council. I think Heather's summary is pretty much it. There has been, these contracts, the previous one and this one, have been under negotiation for some time, for many months, and they're really not related at all to anything that's happened in the appeals court or Superior Court or anywhere else. But it's the effort of Mr. Suso and Mrs. Harper to get us some relief from the lowered operating hours, which are a condition of the court and of the preliminary injunction in the Superior Court. And we also have negotiated into that more leeway, so if there is a further change in hours by judicial decree, it can accommodate that too.
Is there any restriction? I understand the first grant that we received in the first issue is restricted to funds using to ensure the safe, reliable, and efficient operation of the turbines. Is there any restriction on the roughly $70,000 coming in per year as to what, is that just general fund? Is that into the renewable energy fund? Is there any restriction as to where that money goes into?
That's restricted by this town's special legislation that they would go into the Renewable Energy Fund.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to authorize town manager to execute the agreement for the amended renewable energy certificate purchase agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Second from Mr. Patterson. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is to vote accept donation to the Senior Center donation account from the Friends of the Falmouth Senior Center under the Willett Foundation Fund at the Cape Cod Foundation. And thrilled to see the money used this way. Herb Willett was my uncle. I live in his house currently. And he would be thrilled to know that money is being used in this direction.
I remember him well. I worked with him on various committees. Great guy. I'm Bruce McKilligan, treasurer and board member of the Friends of the Falmouth Senior Center. For those who may be watching, I would summarize by saying the Friends of the Falmouth Senior Center is a nonprofit organization, and we exist to raise funds for the benefit of the Senior Center, its programs and activities. And we do that in a number of ways, including programs, donations, grants. And this evening I'm here to give you a check which we received as a grant from a fund at the Cape Cod Foundation. Sometimes grants come with specific purpose or designation, and that is so in this case. The funds are designated to fund in part the cost of the Senior Center site feasibility study, which you as a Board of Selectmen have approved. The Friends are certainly pleased with the progress being made toward getting a new senior center, led by Jill Bishop and the Council on Aging and you as a Board of Selectmen. And we all look forward to the day when we have a new senior center. I in particularly look forward to that, so I'll be able to enjoy it when I become a senior citizen. So, representing Cindy Layton and our president and the board of directors of the Friends of the Falmouth Senior Center, I'm delighted to present to you this evening a check in the amount of $20,000 for said purpose.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. McKinley.
I'll just pass this over to you. Thank you. But we first need to have a vote by the board to actually accept that donation before I can take it.
Great presentation.
Yes, indeed.
Quick.
I move that we accept the $20,000 from the Friends of the Falmouth Senior Center for the sake of the Senior Center working study?
Site feasibility.
Site feasibility study.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have a question. Since this is additional money, does this change the scope of this study effort at all?
Ms. Bishop, there.
The scope is the same scope. In fact, we would be unable to fulfill the scope without the contribution of the Friends. If you recall, town meeting appropriated $30,000. This $20,000 brings the funding up to $50,000, which is what's necessary to complete the work.
Outstanding. So,
Good question.
a special thanks.
Yes, absolutely.
Our pleasure, thank you.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Have a check.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item of business is to vote to adopt the order of taking and layout and the betterment of White Pine Lane. We did have our hearing on this. We closed the hearing, so it is now up for board discussion as to what percentage. We do have to vote the layout, but also as to vote the percentage of betterment on the past for many, many years for all roads that the town has taken has been 100% betterment paid by the residents, with the town paying the money up front and it being reimbursed to the town by the residents. What's the board's pleasure? Rebecca?
I think that as we thought, we have followed the White Pine Lane, and I think most of us went up there and drove up and down, and then I think we had very good explanations that came to the selectmen, and I would agree with 100% betterment, because I think what happened that in the line of people waiting to have their private roads and to have a town road, they went through the time of that. This one, we jumped. And I think that in jumping that, they got the benefit. It definitely needs to be done in that area. So I agree with 100% betterment, and then the way it is divided into the number of years, it's a little more palatable
So is that your
than
motion?
to say that. So I agree.
Do you want to make the motion on the layout and the betterment?
I make a motion that we decided it's 100% betterment for the White Pine Lane improvement in a public way.
We actually have to have the amount and the number of
Oh,
abutters in it.
excuse me. I will just read it then. I move to vote a layout White Pine Lane as a public way in accordance with the taking plan submitted to adopt an estimate of $142,000 to be divided among 11 abutters to the betterment. The total cost of the improvements shall not exceed the cost estimated.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. The ayes have it, unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification, does the motion include the 100% betterment as well?
Yes,
Well, I think it
because
does
those
say that.
142,000 divided by the 11 being paid to them.
Thank you.
By them. Next have to do with some seasonal license renewals, and we're going to take these in two groups. I have to recuse myself from the issues with the Landfall Restaurant, and so I'll do the other ones first, and then hand over the gavel to Ms. Moffett for the others. So the first is for an alcohol restaurant license for the Seacoast Shores Association, 7 Fairview Lane.
I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of Seacoast Shores Association?
Aye.
Okay. Next is the Wine and Malt Restaurant, Quixhall Taqueria, 6 Luscombe Avenue in Woods Hole. And I'm going to read over the rest of them, and we'll do them as a group if that's okay with you. A common victual license for the Falmouth Tea Room at 196 Crystal Springs Avenue, the Quixhall Taqueria, 6 Luscombe Avenue, and Seacoast Shores Association, all for common victual license. Entertainment license for the Quixhall Taqueria and the Seacoast Shores Association. Sunday entertainment for Seacoast Shores Association, and the automatic amusement devices for the Falmouth Tea Room on 186 Crystal Springs Avenue.
Move approval.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And none opposed. Ms. Moffett, if
Okay,
you would handle the two landfall licenses.
All right. The two that are recommended now is the all alcohol at the Landfall Restaurant in Woods Hole, and also the common victualler license at the Landfall Restaurant in Woods Hole.
I move approval of both of those licenses.
Second?
Any discussion?
Oh, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good job.
Very good, thank you.
Well done. I guess.
Oh, well, yeah.
Next item is to discuss and approve the remote participation policy. This has to do with the open meeting law. This policy permits remote participation by members of public bodies at meetings of public bodies conducted in accordance with general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18-25 of the open meeting law. It is some of the issues dealing with this, just to be aware of, is if someone is absent but wants to participate remotely, they cannot serve as chair and they cannot count towards the quorum. So next Monday night, we can't all stay home and watch the NCAA game and try to run this meeting remotely. If someone does want to participate remotely, they must contact the chair in advance, and it should be done only in unforeseen circumstances that make the members' physical attendance unreasonably difficult via personal illness, personal disability, emergency, military service, or geographic distance. Any discussion on the remote participation policy?
I noticed that also all votes will be roll call votes. And the other thing is this, I think it's sort of timely that we do this. A lot of organizations have policies. Cape Cod Commission has such a policy. And so I think it's time we do.
I think it also helps a little bit with not tying our hands when there are some issues that require a 4 out of 5 vote. While you still can't count towards the quorum, if there ever are hearings of that nature, it means make sure that we aren't prevented from being able to move forward in those kinds of instances.
Or expeditious.
Yeah.
What's the timeline after the vote? Is it immediate?
Yes.
And is there some reason that this is the first time it's ever been brought forward? It hasn't been discussed? Not having a full...
It has been discussed in the past.
But it's never been voted on?
It has not been accepted by, it is up to each board to adopt it as they see fit.
Okay.
And I know there are some other boards in town that have, and some that have not.
Okay.
This is a time that's come up before this board. I very much am not concerned about it. I do not see it as being a policy that is going to be abused by a board of selectmen. I think that was one of the fears, but I just don't think, I have enough faith in the people that we elect to be selectmen to do their best to get to these meetings. Sam?
Yeah, and I would just say, I think it's well-constructed with a lot of checks and balances in it. And then the responsibilities. I mean, the chairman is responsible for making sure the technology is available and the proper controls are exercised throughout this. I'm actually pretty comfortable with this. And when I started to read it, I was thinking, boy, I could see where this might get abused. But I kind of agree with you. I think it's a tight enough policy that it should really control the abuse and also, make sure that it does meet all of the open meeting law intents.
And one that's very clear about it is if there's any difficulty in hearing or communication, it does not work. Then the person is not allowed to participate remotely badly. They may only participate if it is an effective means of communicating.
Be it audio or video.
Right. The video one's actually much more complicated because the rule's very strict that everybody in the audience, if we're doing a video one, has to be able to see the person and that the person can see everybody in the audience. And I think that would be very difficult in our technology to work. But I think from being able to do the audio is something I think we can make sure works fairly well.
One more question?
Yep.
I didn't see that there was a limit of the number of times it can be used by one member. There is no limit.
I wouldn't want to impose a limit because again, it suggests that someone's misusing it.
Oh, I don't think so. I think the person has some type of a personal issue. I mean, I'm just saying this from the Steamship Authority uses this on a regular basis. And I just wonder how many more months that will go on. That's the purpose of my question.
What do you propose?
Well, I think there probably should be a time with the determination of why the person is not at the meetings.
That it is up to the acting chair to
Yes, I
accept
think so.
the application, the request, and may say, actually, that doesn't strike me as being reasonable. I'm not going to allow it, or you need to get here. That it was within the requirement that the chair, and I think in this case it's the acting chair, if it is the chair that can't be there, to make that determination. If this is the 5th week in a row. But I'm not sure I would put the number in writing, because then what do you do if it really is 5 times in a row that it is completely valid? You would then have to either automatically go ahead with the number you came up with or redo the policy in that instance, and I think that becomes a little bit awkward.
I agree with the acting chair or whoever that might be, the chair making that decision at a reasonable time. But I do not believe that it should just go on and on and on.
I'll move that the open meeting law, remote
sure.
participation, sorry.
Thank you, Matt McNamara. You're all on the same page, so I'm sure I won't be able to dissuade you from adopting this. I don't know if this policy is any different than what the statute requires, but in all honesty, I think it's one step further away from openness. There has never been a problem, to the best of my knowledge, in terms of the selectmen being able to move forward with their business. When this was discussed several years ago, when the statute first was adopted, I know there was a comment made that, well, this will help with a quorum, and I think tonight's chairman indicated that that's not the case. And, you know, Pat Flynn's not here this evening. Perhaps she could have called in because there's a quorum. But it almost is cherry picking what topic you might want to participate in. Again, I haven't seen if this is a different policy, but if there is going to be participation remotely, it should be for the entire meeting, not for a particular agenda item. But in general, I don't think it's a very good move. I've had some experience for 10 and a half years participating in public meetings and public hearings, and there's a lot of value in terms of that facial contact. Now, in my legal practice, I did a lot of work with boards of directors where we would remotely participate. And you know, when that phone gets glued to the desk there, everyone's looking at the phone, and no one's participating, as almost you all missed the fact that I had my hand up wanting to speak on this comment. It is less likely to happen if you're watching the phone. The remote participant doesn't get to see the reaction of the community. And when you look at, in particular, this winter, when it was so difficult for people to come to these meetings and participate, FCTV simply is not going to be able to pick up on the remote participants' interaction. So I would caution you, I don't think there's any major need. I think the word that was used a moment ago was expedience. Well, we don't need government to be as more expedient as we need it to be more open. So I'd caution you very much not to adopt this. Now, I haven't really reviewed the statute in a long time, but my recollection was that other boards in town cannot adopt this statute until the Board of Selectmen adopt it first. So if there are,
correct. You're right.
If there are boards that are doing this already, I don't think they are meeting the requirements of the open meeting law. So this would open up that possibility, and then, even though you feel that there may be sufficient safeguards for your chairman to make sure that there's adequate participation, what's the last count? 60 some odd boards in town that are subject to the open meeting law. Are those chairmen going to provide the same kind of guarantees that you feel are going to be provided with your chairman? So I think it's a bit of a slippery slope. If you do have a policy that establishes greater safeguards than just the statute itself, I'd really like to ask you to make it public. So those of us who have participated over the years might be able to look at it and say, here's where some of the weaknesses are, here are some of the strengths, and here are some of the problems that can be solved. But again, I have never heard of a problem in town where we could not have the adequate participation. You all seem to be doing very well tonight with 4 members here, and if in fact it was a requirement for a 4/5 vote, you'd need that quorum anyway. You'd need to have the 4 members participating. So I think, it's interesting. There was last week there was a lot of information about openness and open meeting and public records, and so that week's gone by, and here you are closing the door just slightly. I don't think that's your intent, quite frankly, but I do think it's one step further removed from the community participating. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other public comment?
Kathleen Murray, and I'm not speaking as the observer, but as being on a board. I think it's a good idea to allow it because you get the input from another person. And it's good to have the input from everybody, and there are times when somebody, excuse me for my throat, that a person can't make it, and I think it is an excellent idea to allow it, but maybe it should be up to the individual board, and they should let you know whether they're going to use this or not. That might be a way to do it too. Some boards that have maps might be a little bit harder to do, but a lot of boards could use it when somebody cannot come for one reason or another. And for instance, in this bad weather, some people couldn't drive and some people could. And that would make a difference on the number of people there. Whether it should count as a quorum, that is up to you.
Tim?
Well, I actually was thinking exactly the way Mrs. Murray just reflected, that getting that additional input from somebody that perhaps has been on the board a lot longer than I have, serving my very first year, would be valuable. But I also hear what Mr. McNamara is saying, that perhaps it's not a bad idea to put this on the web, on our website, and allow the community to review it and vet it and give us comment on it before we actually vote this policy. So I'm prepared to make a motion that we continue approval of this policy until April 6th.
I'm still ready to make my motion to approve it now, although I do appreciate Mr. McNamara's comments, all very important and very mindful. And my view of it is more toward having more input in being able to move the town's business, because I think this is so accepted in most other business practices, and the town really is a different kind and a special kind of business, but in many respects it is also a business. So I'm more in favor of moving this ahead, approving it today, and in my motion to approve it today, I am making now, because I think you can still have comments, you can see what works, what doesn't work, you can always adjust policies. Just because we approve it now, and again, this is already, it's a very, very similar, if not the same policy used by Cape Cod Commission. If there are suggestions made, there's no reason they can't be made while the policy is running, and there's no reason it can't be adjusted. So I am making the motion to approve the policy tonight.
I would just say my experiences with the Steamship Authority, and it works very smoothly, and there's the votes and the discussion, and all the information is known ahead of time because they have a packet, and I have listened as one member has not been able to be in attendance, and it's worked very well.
Okay. Are you making a second to?
Yes, I will second.
Okay. Further discussion?
Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. I sat on this discussion before, and at that point in time, the board had, to my recollection, no appetite for this. And You mentioned the Steamship Authority using it all the time. Nobody knows what the hell goes on at the Steamship Authority, to be honest with you. As I said, there was no appetite for it before. I just wonder what has changed. Thank you. And you should at least allow the citizens of this town to make a comment on something like this, because they're all home watching right now, and they may have something to add. Thank you.
I'm inclined to try to get a little more feedback from some people as to how we might, I know it's odd to say tighten it up to open it up, but I guess I wish it were a little bit stronger about this is for exceptional circumstances. This is not, and how do we, and I'm not, the number I don't think is the right way of doing it, but somebody's saying once a year that this happens is what I would be hoping it would be the kind of thing, not where every week a different board says, well, we only have 4 people here, and I can't, as I read it, I couldn't find a way of adding something that made it more restricted as to how it got used. And I do have a fear that it could be opening up meetings to having 4 out of 7 people there and 3 people on different microphones. I think that could be extremely confusing if you had 3 different microphones or speakers recording different people talking. Mr. McNamara's point about the hand being raised, which is often a way that we run our meetings. How does the person who's not there raise their hand, or are they interrupting the entire time? And that's an issue that, in essence, I kind of like the idea, but would like to either get some more feedback from people or have some people who've dealt with town with meetings before saying, you know, if you added this paragraph, it would do what we're looking for. So I'm more inclined to revisit it next week and then try to move forward from there.
Well, just to back up my experience with the Steamship Authority, it is the chairman that makes the decision, and it is very serious, and they take it very serious, and the meeting runs very well.
But what Mr. McNamara pointed out that I had forgotten about was if we adopt this policy, it then becomes the policy that every other board in town has the option of adopting with various levels of restriction. And without a little bit more restriction in it, it could end up being much bigger than that.
I do think that is an issue. Mm-hmm.
Well, one more thing. I have made a mistake. Generally, once we move to the vote, we try to keep it within the board discussion, but.
Mark Finneran again. I also do recall one time in the past, about 3 years ago, it wasn't a Board of Selectmen meeting, but they did have a woman participate who was like for the Zumba 5K or the cat juggling road race or whatever. She spoke on the phone.
Mr. Finneran, we do not allow cat juggling road races in this town. I just want to make, if anyone out there is worried, that's what we're approving. Okay.
But she spoke on the phone, and then the phone conversation ended, and then the selectmen's conversation continued, and she wasn't there to participate in, and that was a very awkward situation. Just a small point, but it has been tried once.
Yep.
I would like to move to amend this motion to continue it until April 6th.
Well, actually, the clean way is to have a vote on the motion we have, and if that gets defeated, we can have another motion. Or unless you want to withdraw your motion.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor?
This is
Adopting this
Adopting
policy.
this policy.
yes.
Opposed? No. So it does not pass.
So, all right, then I'll
Okay.
move to put this item on the website for the next week and to also put it on next week's agenda on April 6th.
Okay. Do you have a second for that motion? If not, I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
No, I'll vote with that.
Okay. All, 4 in favor, none opposed, unanimous. The next item that I have is just to point out that we have precinct meetings coming up, and I'm going to announce them for the benefit of the public, but also I'd love to make sure that we get a member of the Board of Selectmen at each one of these meetings.
Okay.
Precinct 1 and 2 will be meeting together Thursday, April 9th at 7 o'clock in the Civil Defense Room, and I will be at that meeting.
And it's 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
I'll be there.
Also, well, hold on a second, because
Okay.
also on Thursday, April 9th at 7 o'clock, Precinct 3 is meeting at the Gus Canty Center, and Precincts 5 and 6 are meeting at the West Falmouth Library. So we have 3 different precinct meetings in the same evening, and I really hope we can get somebody.
I'll do 5 and 6.
And I'll do 3.
All right, thank you. Precinct 4 will be meeting Tuesday, April 7th at the East Falmouth Elementary School, and I'm happy to get to that one.
I can do that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I expect to be there.
So it's just the one? So,
On the Tuesday, there's only
7th.
one meeting.
Okay.
Precinct 7 is meeting this Wednesday, April 1st at the Wacoit Congregational Church, and I was going to try to get to that one also.
Same here.
Okay.
Okay, and then Precinct 8 and 9 is on Wednesday, April 8th at 7 o'clock at the Barnstable County Fairgrounds.
I can attend that.
And I'll probably do that too.
Okay, great. And of course, if you can go to ones that you didn't sign up for and we have more representatives, that's fine. I'm sure we're also going to have representation from the administration at all these
Absolutely,
meetings.
yes.
And appreciate that. The more information we can pass on to our town meeting members, particularly about the articles that we're putting forward, the more smoothly I think town meeting does go. Town manager's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments, if I may. The board will recall, within the past week, we'd received a communication from the Cape Cod Commission regarding 208 water quality meetings that they were encouraging and sponsoring. The first of 3 meetings that have been noted, and with the suggestion that Cape Cod communities gather in regional groups to attend this meeting, these meetings. The first is, as I recall, April 9th, and that is a meeting at Mashpee Library. And my understanding is, even though some of the publicity issued by the commission suggested that it was, or implied that it was a meeting of elected officials, implying that a quorum of elected officials was intended to be there. I asked for a clarification, and they indicated that no, this indeed, they were not requesting that there be a quorum of elected officials, which is unwieldy, to say the least, for elected officials from multiple communities to be at a series of Cape Cod Commission meetings on 208 water quality. And my understanding also, in talking with some of my counterparts, the April 9th meeting would involve potentially the town of Falmouth, the town of Mashpee, and also Sandwich and Bourne. And I have placed that on my calendar, and I know that some other staff members are going to be in attendance, and I believe perhaps 1 or 2 members of the Board of Selectmen. But unless the board intends otherwise, I'm assuming that we would not be having a quorum of the Board of Selectmen in attendance, as that would potentially trigger some posting requirements and a more formal business meeting being suggested. So I just wanted to note, pass that on with that notation. Obviously, April 9th is a very busy date, if only because 5 precinct meetings that same evening, and I've advised representatives of the Cape Cod Commission that in terms of my own schedule, that I will be a little bit limited in the morning as to the time that I can devote. For instance, I would not have a half day available for that, but certainly some time, and it's an important purpose. So, Mr. Chairman, I think maybe other members of the selectmen may have a comment.
Well, I am a stakeholder in the 208, so I have been going to these meetings, so I would plan on being there on the 9th.
And I'm also available, and since I've participated in the 208 One Cape like conferences the rest of us did, I would be happy to attend as well.
I will not be there. Will you be there?
No, that makes sense. I won't go. These 2 are perfect.
And I doubt that Pat will be trying to get there,
Thank
so
you.
I don't think we need to worry.
Very good. I think we're all set then.
Great.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, members of the board. I also wanted to note that it was my pleasure on Saturday, March 21st, to attend 2 informative sessions. The first was Saturday morning at the library for discussion of financial matters with interested town meeting members. Joining in this were Finance Director Jennifer Petit, Finance Committee Chair, of course, Judy Mignani, Town Clerk Michael Palmer, and Town Moderator David Vieira. Very well attended session. Also at the library on that same date, on the afternoon of March 21st was a 10-year anniversary event hosted by the Community Preservation Committee. This involved a historical review of actions and accomplishments of the committee and a discussion of what the future may hold. Again, interesting and informative. Also, Mr. Chairman, just to echo your comment, only with regard to this week, we do have the single precinct meeting, and I look forward to being in attendance at that at the Wacoit Congregational Church for Precinct 7. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Any individual selectmen's reports?
I mentioned, attended a number of committee meetings, which I won't enumerate, but a couple that I'm not liaison to. One is the Board of Health meeting that occurred last Monday, when we didn't have a meeting, but there was a very good presentation by Cia Karplis on the monitoring of the West Falmouth Harbor, and also taking a look at the changes in dissolved nitrogen over periods of years, and their effort to really recruit 20 homeowners in that area to install these alternative septic systems so that data can actually be collected to see whether they're going to be effective. So that was something that was worth noting. The other thing I attended that was unusual was a meeting put on by the Falmouth Housing Trust for the St. Mark's housing project, St. Mark's Road housing project, in which they basically gave an orientation session for applicants who are hoping to live in one of those 3 units. It was very informative, very helpful, because it provided information on mortgages and qualifications that were required, and the help that's available to help these potential residents actually qualify. There will be a lottery at some point, but that was a valuable insight for me, especially because one of the things they stressed were the conditions that were actually going to be placed on the deeds, so that a person can't sell those houses that will be sold at less than market rate and make a profit on them sometime in the future. So that what they can sell those houses for will be capped, not necessarily to the exact price that they purchased it at, but perhaps some modest escalation over time, and possibly if they improve it in some significant way, that would be added to the sale value. But it was a very valuable meeting, and I really appreciate the work of the Falmouth Housing Trust in conducting this orientation for the benefit of those potential residents.
Did they clarify who the monitoring agent's going to be for that to make sure that those stay affordable?
Yes, and it's going to be documented very strictly as to who, and there are inspections that will occur on a regular basis to make sure that the place is being maintained so that it's not degrading in value for some new homeowner at another time. So yes, all that was kind of laid out, and it was nice to see that the controls are very much there and are legally based and enforceable.
I just want to make, it came to mind on the Cia Karplis West Falmouth Harbor review, because of the incredible ice situation we had this winter, Cia was able to hire, to get someone involved that had a drone to actually fly over West Falmouth Harbor and see where the nitrogen was most concentrated or percoled up, or, I mean, it really was a unique opportunity, and she sort of grabbed the wave and did that research, so there is some more,
Just so he doesn't get in trouble, he volunteered to do it.
He did,
because
exactly, yes.
Thank
Be
you.
hired to use
Right,
drones
right,
now.
volunteer, but I thought that was a very creative idea, and there'll be some more research coming out on that.
Yeah, she mentioned that, and what they were doing is seeing where the holes had formed in the ice because of upwelling springs underneath, which are coming in with a lot warmer water and melting the snow a lot faster. But what a creative way of actually locating where those spring heads are so that they could kind of take, specific samples in those regions. Yeah.
Anything else from individual members? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce.
The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Internet services provided by Cape.com Incorporated. Established in 1994, Cape.com is the only locally owned and operated internet service provider on Cape Cod. Our specialties include e-commerce applications and design, wide area networking services, and high-speed DSL internet access throughout eastern Massachusetts. Cape.com continues to lead the way with cutting-edge applications, superior networking services, and quality customer support. For more information, visit us at www.cape.com or call us at 539-9500.